The Demonic Jester, a 2 to 3 grams of penis envy mushrooms trip report, sent in by a subscriber. Chapter 1, A Leap of Fate. As I lay down in my bed looking up at the ceiling, nervously and anxiously awaiting for the mushrooms to take effect, I thought of bad trips and negative emotions surged through my mind. After about 40 minutes, I get a nauseous feeling and my stomach is telling me to puke. Stop this trip from happening, I thought to myself, as I head towards the bathroom and proceed to puke out all of the mushrooms. I was now under the belief that I've prevented this trip from happening, so I lay back down in my bed, ashamed of myself. What a cowardly, pathetic person I am, are the only thoughts that race through my mind. Then, all of a sudden, the ceiling starts to move like waves on the ocean. Guess my body must have digested some of those mushrooms, but this is probably the extent of it, I thought. The waves crash and become faces of geometric shapes, constantly deconstructing and reconstructing themselves into other faces. Whoa, this is a bit more than I expected, I thought, as the geometric shapes collide all at once and makes a face the size of my torso. The face was one of a terror, of a demonic medieval jester, staring right into my eyes with a giant Joker grin from ear to ear. Terrified, I remember my earlier feelings of shame that I had been such a coward, so I take a deep breath and ask the jester out loud, "Is there something you want? Something you want to show me? If you talk to me, I'll stay and listen." The jester's smile, which I thought could not get any bigger, widened all the way up to his eyes as long slender fingers creep up slowly from his chin to his eyes. The jester then covered his eyes with the palms of his hands. "I see. You want me to close my eyes?" The jester just nods. If there was ever a time to be brave, this is the moment. If I can be brave enough to close my eyes and let the demonic jester show me whatever it is he wants, perhaps I'll be alright. Maybe I can make up for all the times I was a coward in my life. I close my eyes, expecting darkness, but I see nothing but light, a bright, almost white shade of blue. Before I can wrap my head around where I am, the jester appears in front of me with his giant grin and all. He waved his hand, and a pitch black hole appears where he is standing. I walk over and look down that black hole. A set of stairs going down into darkness. The jester is now next to me, but quickly shuffles down the stairs into the void. Hell fucking no, I'm not going down there. He's going to eat me, torture me, take my soul. These were just some of the thoughts racing through my mind. But for some reason, in the heat of it all, I shrugged my shoulders, and the last sentence I thought would ever leave my mouth was, fuck it all, as I take my first step down the stairs. Chapter 2, Judgment. As I descend the stairs slowly into the darkness, the blackness becomes a dark red, getting brighter and more red with every step. When I reach the bottom of the stairs, something I never thought I would see appears. A big red room with red neon lights with tables everywhere, and at these tables sit all manner of creatures. One creature catches my eye as I stand at the bottom of the stairs. A red and black humanoid are the only words I can find to describe this being. As the creature catches me staring at it, I avert my eyes and see the jester sitting at an empty table waiting for me. Shit, I have to walk past this red humanoid to get to him. Funny enough though, the jester now gave me a sense of security. If I can just get past this creature and make it to the jester's table, I'm going to be fine, I thought to myself, since they might think I'm his friend and won't do anything to me. I walked towards the jester's table, trying to look as confident as possible but avoiding all eye contact. I can just feel everyone looking at me, so I decide to make the first move. I reach the red humanoid's table and I turn to it and say, "If you want something, I'm here," in a very firm, almost threatening tone. No response though, so I look over at the jester's table and he is not happy, not one bit. That huge grin was nowhere to be found. In a slight panic, I walk quickly to the jester's table, thinking, "Oh God, what did I do wrong? I need to ask him so I can fix it." I sit down at his table, but before I can ask him anything, his expression told me everything I needed. I felt judged walking in there with everyone staring at me. I didn't feel like I was liked nor welcomed. I hated that feeling. Yet, I had from the very beginning judged the Jester, who had done nothing wrong. I just assumed he was evil, just because of the way he looked. He hadn't even said a word to me, yet I acted like he was some sort of monster. Even still, he'd invited me to come sit with him, and that's when I realised that I had done the same to the red humanoid who was just sitting there peacefully. So immediately, I stand up and apologise to them both, and after raising my voice slightly just so everyone could hear me, I said, "If anyone wants to come join me and the Jester at the table and hang out, that would be lovely." The red humanoid stands up along with two other strange looking creatures and starts moving towards our table. Without hesitation, I told the red humanoid, "Here, you can sit next to me, and to the other two next to the Jester." We will now sit at the same table, and as I look back at the Jester, he now has that giant grin back on his face. It's pretty funny how that smile went from being creepy to something I wanted to see on his face. The Jester's smile now made me smile. A warmth inhabits my body, and the red room fills with blue light. The red and blue mixes together, making purple, while the creatures fade away with the red. Chapter 3. Full steam ahead. Standing in a sea of purple, I look around me, trying to find the Jester. What happened? What was that he wanted to show me? Was it a test? Who knows? I look over to my side, and sure enough, there is the Jester standing there waiting for me as usual. But this time, a huge old steam train behind him. At this point, I'm just glad to see my good old friend the Jester again, and that unforgettable grin of his. As I walk to him, the front of the giant train twists and turns like a snake towards me, and I see at the very front of a wrinkled old face of a man made of metal is looking at me with this grumpy, annoyed expression. I say hi to the train and the Jester, and also ask him, "Hey Jester, who are you? Do you have a name? In fact, what are you?" The Jester didn't like those questions, and his face in the blink of an eye turned into an angry, demonic face. This did not frighten me now, since I understood that the Jester's way of communicating with expressions, since he hasn't had a word yet. So I asked him, "So I'm not allowed to ask you questions then?" The Jester just shrugs his shoulders, or am I perhaps asking the wrong questions? The Jester nods with that smile back on his face. He turns around and enters the first train car and sits down at one of the benches. I look over to the front of the train with the grumpy old metal face still staring at me and ask, "Do you mind if I get on?" The grumpy train then let out a huff and puff of steam from his metal steam tube at his head and turns back forward, with his face now looking forwards towards the rails leading into a purple-violet forest. The huff sounded like, "Whatever, I don't care. Get on if you want, or stay. I couldn't care less." So I got on the train and sat next to the smiling Jester. When I sat down, for some reason the Demon Slayer movie popped in my head, and I thought, "Wait a minute, are you a demon train?" I asked. The train turned around like a snake, only this time he had a demon's face. Wrong question again, I thought, so I asked him, "Where are we going?" Now even the Jester's smile slowly dissolves into an angry face again. Well, no matter. Where we end up doesn't matter to me. Let's try to make the best of it and enjoy ourselves. Who knows, we might make some new friends, I said out loud with excitement. The Jester smiled, and the grumpy train turned forwards and took off into the purple-violet overgrown forest. In the distance, I see the forest clearing up, and a lamppost next to a small train station is where the train stops in a slow and gentle way. Is this the final stop? The Jester shrugs his shoulders, and the train lets out another puff. Should we get off here and explore a little, or should we stay on the train and see where it takes us? Again, the Jester shrugs his shoulders. "Ah, I see. You're letting me decide where I go," I said while the Jester's grin got wider. "Well, alright then, let's get off and take a look around." "Will you wait for us, train? I promise we won't go too far," I said. The train then lets out another grumpy puff and shuts off his engine. "Thank you, we will be back soon," I said, as I jump off the train to the station platform with the Jester following tight behind me. Chapter 4. The Abyss. After a quick look around, I see a stone wall and an orange bright light shining up from below the other side. Intrigued, we head over there with a sense of wonder and discovery, like a child seeing the world for the first time. As we reach the wall, I look over carefully and I see a huge city with a massive tower reaching the skies in the centre, with what I can only describe as a miniature sun in its peak. Completely mesmerised, I ask the Jester, Do you think the train could take us there? The Jester shrugged his shoulders and then points to the forest edge. A dark void, like a black hole at the edge of the dark forest. Wondering what this is, I ask him, could that be the abyss? The Jester smiled, but not with a big grin from ear to ear, just a small grin. It was like he said, yes, that's the abyss, but with a faint smile, like that it told me not to go there. But me, now comfortable and confident going into pitch black portals, decides to take a closer look. As I get closer and closer to the void, I increasingly look back behind me more often and see that the Jester is still standing next to the wall, refusing to come with me. Now, I'm right in front of this black hole, and as I gaze into the abyss, the overwhelming feeling of eyes gazing back at me from the darkness. I look over at the Jester thinking, every time I've trusted the Jester, everything worked out, but now I'm standing here thinking, shall I risk it and jump into the abyss against his recommendation? I turned around and looked at the Jester again and said, if we don't meet again, just know I'm happy to call you my friend. The Jester's face becomes demonic as to say, no, I'm not your friend. Slightly shocked, I replied something to the effect of, well, even if that's how you feel, you've showed me so much and I'll always be grateful to you. Wait here, I'm just going to go take a look inside quickly. Face first, I head into the darkness. Abyss indeed. Sight, smell, touch, all my senses disappear and I can feel myself becoming nothing but an empty shell. Like a cannonball, I shoot back to the purple dimension next to the Jester, who not only smiles but is laughing out loud but with no sound as usual. I guess the look on my face when I came back was the funny part, or perhaps it was more like, I told you so type of laugh, and I could say nothing other than let's head back to the train. Chapter 5, The Infant. As we head back on the trail towards the train, a bench underneath a lamppost that we previously passed on the way to the wall had now something laying on it. I walk closer to the bench and see a towel wrapped around something. When I lifted the top of the wrapped towel, a sleeping infant was inside it with his chubby cheeks and eyes only visible through the folds of the towel. My God, Jester, look, it's an infant. The Jester nodded with a smile. We can't just leave it here on the bench, we've got to find its parents. The Jester's face then turned once again into a demonic appearance. But why? It's a kid, what else are we going to do? I state with conviction. The Jester sits down next to me and picks up the infant and lays it ever so gently in my arms as I sit down next to him. Knowing full well that I need to listen to the Jester at all costs, or something like me messing up and doing something stupid like I've done so many times previously, I stare back towards where the abyss was. With the baby in my arms, and the Jester sitting next to me, I tell the baby, don't worry, if your parents don't come back here, we will take care of you. You're going to be fine. The Jester smiles and stands up in front of me. He looks over at the train in the distance, and I sense that he wants us to take the baby, get on the train and leave. This angered me somewhat. What's wrong with you, I say? We need to wait here as long as possible in case the parents come back, I shouted. The Jester, of course, made his classic demonic face as to say no, listen to me. But when it's my own safety at risk, then sure I can maybe take some risks here, but not with an infant. It's important we do the right thing here. The Jester's face now turning more and more sinister as I'm telling him to stop fucking around and take this seriously. We get into an argument where he keeps telling me with his ever so changing demonic face and me shouting at him. All of a sudden, the baby screams and cries in a violent rage, and the sound pierces through my eardrums. I look back up to the Jester after turning my head down to see what's going on with the infant, and I see that the Jester's face, now with a loving and kind face and a faint smile, he lifts up both of his arms towards his face while inhaling slowly and controlled, and letting his hands down to his stomach as he exhales. I see, I'm all riled up, my temper got the best of me and I need to calm myself down. Thus, I mirror the Jester's controlled breathing. I can just feel my negative emotions leave my body, like leaves floating away downstream. I can feel my own, the infant, and the Jester's heartbeat become synchronized, and we merge together into a symphony. The only emotion left in my body is positive emotions and an overwhelming sensation of love. This feeling is indescribable. It wasn't the kind of love you have for your relatives or for your significant other. This love was more like the love of every person, every creature in all the dimensions, became a bomb and exploded right into my soul. I could do nothing else but cry, with an overwhelming thoughts of, I don't deserve this, I don't deserve to feel like this. It was like the universe gave me a big hug and told me, it's okay, it's going to be fine. I lay down on the bench with the infant on my chest, with a smile that felt like I was looking like the Jester, with my eyes bawling a pool of happy tears beneath the bench, looking straight up at the night sky. It became quiet, and the Jester spoke to me with his facial expression. I want you to go and wash your face, go to the bathroom, drink a lot of water, get a quick bite to eat, and then come back to us. I can't leave now, I said with my own expression. The Jester replied, don't worry, we will be right here. You still have more things here to take care of. I closed my eyes, and when I opened them again, I'm laying in my bed in a pool of tears and sweat everywhere. I laughed to myself. I see, this is what he meant. Yeah, I do need to wash up. I get out of my bed and do the things he wanted me to do, change the pillow to a dry one, and laid back down in my bed and closed my eyes. When I opened them, to my shock, I'm still in my bed staring up in the ceiling. No, 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 I say out loud as I realise I'm 100% sober. Thinking about the Jester, the train that's still waiting for me, not to mention the infant. It was real, just like me washing my face in the bathroom, sort of real. I wanted to go back so badly so I could be there for them and make sure everyone is safe and sound. Then, I remembered, wait, I didn't grab something to eat. So I jump out of bed like a dog when its owner comes home, running into the kitchen and grab myself peanuts and tomatoes, the only thing I could eat right now without cooking. I throw the food into my mouth, chewing on my way back to bed, and laid down and closed my eyes. I opened them and I was still in my bed. But then I remembered the breathing the Jester taught me. I slowed my breath down and I could feel my heartbeat returning to the speed of the Jester's. I closed my eyes and relaxed my body. I then opened my eyes, and sure enough, there I was laying on that bench underneath the lamp with the infant on my chest, and the Jester standing in front of me, laughing. I could not help but to laugh too. Even the infant let out a tiny little laugh. God, I really need to start listening to this Jester and do exactly what he says. He sure knows what he's talking about, I thought to myself. So I stand up with the baby in hand, and we head towards the grumpy train once again. When we reach the train, I say hi to it and apologise if we took too long and thanked him for waiting. Not to anyone's surprise, he let out a grumpy puff of steam as we sit down in the same seats as before. Chapter 6, The Awakening. As the train starts to move, I ask the Jester again, why are we not friends, after everything we've been through? The Jester's face turned into a demon once again. So I asked him, are you a god? His face still demonic. Are you perhaps just a Jester? Face still demonic, as to say, no, I'm not. Then it hit me like a ton of bricks who the Jester really was. The Jester was my inner voice, my consciousness. The thing inside you that tells you when you have done something wrong. The voice that pushes you to be better. I just never really listened. The Jester smiled and gave me a hug as the train went into another dark tunnel. The light at the end became bigger and bigger, and when it was white, I realised I was looking up my white ceiling again in my bed. The Jester was gone from the ceiling, and now I felt him in my soul, still speaking to me in his own way. I took a deep breath and said, I will try to listen from now on. Thank you. And my inner voice said, I'm always here if you need me. Just listen. The end.